Just because you can't have children, living with your parents is meaningless, right? Such a self-righteous statement by my sister-in-law. I'll make this woman who understands nothing suffer. I am Emily, 34 years old. I married Tom, who is the same age as me, 4 years ago, and now live with my in-laws in their home. Although we have been married for 4 years, we have not been blessed with children. Even in such a situation, living with in-laws may invite comments like, "Aren't you being bullied?" or "Don't you dislike it?" But as a working couple, we are quite thankful for our in-laws' help. My mother-in-law Jane, who has been a full-time housewife for 40 years, and my father-in-law Mike, who is already retired, do all the household chores, so I hardly have to do any housework. Even without children, managing work and housework is not easy, of course. Therefore, having them to do the housework was the biggest merit of living with my in-laws. From an outsider's perspective who doesn't know our situation, it may seem like I'm an arrogant daughter-in-law who doesn't do housework, but we and my in-laws maintain a good balance. In fact, Tom and I are paying for my in-laws' housing loan and other running costs, such as utility bills. The house we live in with my in-laws was purchased over 10 years ago, all with a loan without any down payment, and the loan was quite hefty. My mother-in-law, who has always been a housewife, and my father-in-law, who has periods when he didn't pay into his pension, received quite a smaller pension amount compared to others, and couldn't pay off the loan with just their pension. Although I wondered back then why the bank financed my in-laws, and what they were thinking of buying a house in such a rush, it eventually turned out as expected.
You know what, Emily, it seems like Mom and Dad are struggling with the loan payments. They're saying they'll do all the housework if we live with them and help pay the loan, but...
It came to that after all? I thought it was a bit of a stretch, the way they structured it. Well, if they'll do all the housework, it might be okay. And so, we decided to live with my in-laws. Honestly, paying all the loan repayments just because they do the housework was not something easily agreed upon, but as Tom is the eldest son, and I, being the wife of the eldest son, felt a certain obligation to contribute to my in-laws in some way, and had faintly thought that we might live together someday. So, we agreed to live together as proposed by my in-laws. Actually, living with them, my in-laws don't interfere with us, and we can live quite comfortably, so I thought the result was quite alright. But that was disrupted by the arrival of Catherine, Tom's sister. Tom has a 26-year-old sister named Catherine. She lives alone and we've only met a few times ever. Honestly, I don't even know how she earns a living. It seems that she notified my in-laws that she would be returning home after a long time. I'm looking forward to seeing Catherine. It's really been a long time.
That's right. Hey, let's prepare a feast.
Of course, we have to prepare her favorite dishes. My in-laws, who deeply love Catherine, seemed to get very excited as soon as they heard the news of her homecoming.
Hold on. I get that you're happy, but don't spoil her too much. Both Dad and Mom lose all reason when it comes to Catherine.
In fact, Tom and Catherine, his sister 8 years his junior, have never gotten along very well. They've hardly been on good terms since they were kids and have been out of touch since we got married. Since finding out about Catherine's return, he's been somewhat in a bad mood, and finally the day of Catherine's return arrived. I'm home! Oh my, it's Catherine!
That's right, let's go greet her at the entrance.
My in-laws who suddenly stand up, and Tom, watching them, shows a fed-up face.
See, it's starting again.
Tom sighed deeply at his parents, who were making a big fuss, heading toward the entrance. The moment I heard my sister-in-law's voice, whether it's a woman's intuition or something, an unpleasant premonition surged through me. Then, from the direction of the entrance, a bizarre scream from my in-laws echoed.
What's going on?
Oh, Jane, what happened? As we hurried to the entrance to see what was happening, my in-laws turned around with pale faces, their eyes wide open in what appeared to be a mixture of shock and anger. While being surprised at their state, Tom and I, glancing towards the entrance, were also greatly taken aback. There stood my sister-in-law and an unfamiliar man. This man, no matter how you looked at him, seemed suspicious. He didn't look like he was doing legitimate business at all. He was a man entirely incompatible with the idyllic, atmosphere of the in-laws' home. My sister-in-law introduced the man. "This is John, my husband, and Saying so, Catherine began to rub her stomach. Oh no, this has to be a joke. Just as I thought that, sure enough, the words that came out of my sister-in-law's mouth were astonishing. "This child is ours." I knew it. Although it's not yet very large, now that it was mentioned, my sister-in-law's stomach did appear slightly rounded. She began to lovingly stroke her belly. The in-laws and we, as a couple, were rendered speechless. My mother-in-law managed to produce a voice that sounded like it was stuck in her throat. Child, are you saying you're pregnant?"
Ugh, this can't be true.
The in-laws' faces looked like they might collapse at any moment, having not only their dear daughter bring home an unknown man, but also suddenly being informed of her pregnancy.
So yeah, cheers. Nice to meet ya.
His greeting might have been the only decent thing, but even Tom showed a dumbfounded face at the overly frivolous attitude of this man, John. The in-laws, with their mouths agape, couldn't utter a single word. "So we've decided to live here." What? Now it was our turn to be shocked.
Just a second. What did you just say? Parental support is a must for raising a kid, don't you think? Don't you agree, Jane?
The man addressed the in-laws as if he was unaware of our presence. Well, that may be true, but
we don't have any room, dear. Catherine's room has turned into a storeroom.
Right. I cheered for my in-laws silently in my heart. But it would have been better if both of them had decisively said no. I quickly glanced at Tom, and for some reason he was wearing a gloomy expression. Immediately after, my sister-in-law said something outrageous. "Then why don't Tom and Emily leave? You don't have children anyway, so there's no point in living with Mom and Dad, right?" What? I involuntarily screamed internally, disbelieving my ears. Tom looked as if he knew this would happen, keeping his typically exasperated expression. His experiences being tormented by Catherine, as he had said before, were not for nothing. "Our lease for the current apartment ends at the end of this month, so we'll move here next month. Please make sure you guys move out by then."
Oh, and we'll use your furniture and stuff, so feel free to leave them behind.
The two of them casually said this, trying to push the conversation forward. What is this feel free to leave them behind? Even if we did move, why would we leave behind a single thing we bought for these people?
Hey, you're talking like it's decided, but we are the ones paying the loan for this place. That's right. If Tom and his wife move out, we won't be able to make the loan payments.
Why? Can't Tom just keep paying it even after he moves out? I widened my eyes. Why should we keep paying the loan after moving out? I looked at the mother-in-law, and to my astonishment, she murmured, "Well, that's a point." No way. This family.
Are you serious, Mom? What are you saying? We have no obligation to pay if we're not living here. If you want to live here, Catherine and her husband should pay the loan.
Why?
We are allocating more than 40% of our salary to repay the loan. Sorry, but there's no way I believe you and your husband can manage that.
What do you know? We both work and have an income, okay?
Is that so? Well then, if you live with us, it'll make me happy. If that's the case, wouldn't it be wonderful to live with our first grandchild? What happiness that would be!
The in-laws threw fleeting glances at us and seemed like they wanted to say something. Seeing that, I was once again overwhelmed by a bad premonition.
But we can't really say, please leave or anything like that directly. Rather than coming from us, it should come from you, Right, dear? Yeah, that's right. Unless you suggest it yourself, it's a bit, Right, honey?
The parents-in-law are blatantly saying such things. It's practically the same as being told to leave. Anger began to simmer within me. Then Catherine nonchalantly said, "Well, let's think about it positively for now. Make a decision within this month, okay?" She left with an air of confidence, feeling she'd made her point clear. As soon as the sister-in-law left,
Oh, the idea of a grandchild seems like a dream. I'm finally becoming a grandmother. It really feels like a dream. I was surprised, but it feels like unexpected happiness came.
The in-laws looked at us with pointed stares. My face turned red with anger and the humiliation of feeling like we were being blamed for not having children.
Come on. If you want us to leave, just say it outright. I don't think like that. But would you leave? If that's the case, we can't force you to stay, right, dear? I understand. If you push it to that extent, we can leave. But we won't pay the loan. That would be problematic. You're the eldest son. Help out a little. No, seriously, we can't.
Tom firmly refused. I felt reassured seeing Tom's strong stance.
About Catherine, it's not just that she can't pay the renewal fee for the apartment, right? Dad and Mom are being taken advantage of. Stop spoiling her.
Tom's determined stance on not paying the loan seemed to have an effect. It seemed like the idea of living together with Catherine and John was temporarily off the table. However, a week later, on a day off, we returned home to find Catherine and her husband having tea and chatting with the in-laws. There was a palpable tension in the air as they noticed us. "Oh, hello. Didn't realize you were here."
"Excuse me, this is my family home."
Well, in that context.
Emily was just greeting. What's with your attitude?
Tom glanced at Catherine, who was engrossed in her smartphone.
"It would have been better if you guys never came back. We're living here from today."
"Starting today? That's a bit sudden."
"Because you guys won't leave. Even Dad and Mom are troubled."
What?
The in-laws looked down awkwardly. It seemed that Catherine had been speaking ill behind our backs, despite them being the ones troubled about not being able to pay their loan.
"Since Emily can't have children, there's no point in you two living here. We, the filial children, have the right to live in this house."
"But we've been paying the loan until now, right? Because you said you couldn't pay, we accepted living together and even covered utilities." I couldn't help but retort. I was really fed up. It's not like we wanted to live together in the first place. I was frankly angry at being portrayed as if we were overstaying our welcome.
Emily, Tom, these kids need a home. I want to see my first grandchild grow up nearby. It would have been great if you two had children.
I never realized my in-laws were this cold-hearted. I was overtaken by an emotion that I couldn't distinguish whether it was sadness or anger. My sister-in-law adds insult to injury.
"Maybe it's better to tell them directly to get out, since they're so insensitive."
Really, we will pay the loan too.
"So you don't need to be here, Tom."
Huh? Can you guys afford it?
Tom was also surprised at this.
Easy. It's just 40% of the salary, right?"
Seriously. I inadvertently looked at Tom's face. Tom nods deeply. It seems these two understand nothing. I looked at Tom's face to see if we should tell them the truth, and this time he shakes his head. Ah, I see. Not telling them yet. Well, then I opened my mouth with a grin. Understood. We'll leave.
Really? I'm so sorry it turned out like we're kicking you out.
I kept silent, thinking of the turn of events to come, and wondering which mouth was saying this. Within a week, we had to leave, and a week later, as we were moving out, it was finally time to say goodbye to the in-laws' house. Thank you for everything up until now.
I'm sorry. Please come to visit any time.
Despite their true feelings of overwhelming joy at being able to live with their daughter, they desperately made sad faces. How long that happiness will last.
It's going to be tough to make the loan payments, but hang in there.
Tom spoke to Catherine and John, who had just arrived.
No problem.
That's reassuring. Well then, this is the passbook. Please make sure to transfer money into it every month. I handed the passbook for the loan, which is under my father-in-law's name, to the couple.
Okay, so we just need to transfer money to this, right?
If life only involves repaying loans, it's going to be easy.
Such a contemptuous couple. It might be about time to give them a dose of reality. It's cruel, but that's life too. By the way, The monthly loan payment is exactly $4,000.
Eh?
The couple screamed in surprise. Yes, this is what I wanted to see.
That's a lie, isn't it?
It's not a lie. Why don't you check the passbook? Catherine, in a panic, opened the passbook and let out a sound like a squashed frog.
What is this? A monthly repayment of $4,000 for a loan is impossible!
Eh? You guys didn't know how much it was? We can't possibly pay this kind of money. Eh? But you guys were just saying it was easy, weren't you?
That's because you said it was 40% of your salary. $4,000 being 40% of the salary. Does that mean you have a monthly income of $10,000? That's impossible. How much do you earn, big brother?
And me? I make about $3,000.
Then that's less than the repayment amount, isn't it? What does that mean?
Didn't I say that the loan payments would come from our salary?
Which means it's 40% of the combined salary of Tom and me.
Even if you say that, there's no way Emily can earn the remaining $7,000 with a part-time job, is there?
Don't you know what kind of job Emily does? Emily is a doctor, you know?
Well, I'm still a resident, so my salary is low, but... Catherine and John were so shocked that they were lost for words.
Why did you hide something like that?
Because you didn't ask.
First of all, why is the loan set to $4,000? I've never heard of such a thing.
When we took out the loan, I was doing pretty well. Besides, I had no intention of retiring at the age of retirement then.
Mike said apologetically.
Also, we talked about the loan quite a while ago, didn't we? Eh?
It seemed like Catherine, thinking it was someone else's problem, had forgotten.
And since you said it was easy, I thought John must be earning quite a bit despite appearances.
No way. He's working at a nightclub, but not well paid, and he's just doing odd jobs.
What? Don't speak so badly about it. I earn $10 per hour.
I said it was easy because you were getting $2,000 a month.
$2,000. That's just half of the loan.
To begin with, you were the one who said that the average loan is about $800, so it's easy. You also said that all the money except that is all parent-held or something.
And so an internal dispute began between Catherine and John. The panicked in-laws intervened to stop it.
Hold on. Putting that aside, what about the loan payment? Yes, that's right. We drove Tom and Emily out because you said you would pay.
The word drove out bothers me, but well, it's fine.
That loan is something Dad and Mom took out on their own. We have nothing to do with it.
That's not true, is it? You're going to live together. If the four of you work hard, can't you pay something like $4,000?
The in-laws started to panic as if they were choking on their words.
We have to work too. I want to enjoy a carefree retirement.
Right, I've never worked either.
Oh, I see. While you're discussing it, this house will get repossessed, huh?
Eh? Such a thing?
Well, it's obvious that if you don't pay the loan, it gets repossessed, right? Hey, I have nothing to do with this, so good luck. I'm divorcing you.
What? What are you talking about?
That's right. Running away is cowardly, especially with a baby on the way. No, that's obviously a lie, isn't it?
Eh?
If Catherine was pregnant, we thought you would say we could live together, so we pretended it was true.
Wait a minute, John.
Then what about our first grandchild? Well, sorry, but there isn't one, so I'll pass on the loan payments too.
John, who seemed to be trash just as he looked, fled the scene. Everyone was speechless and couldn't say a thing.
Tom, Emily, shall we all live together?
What a go-with-the-flow woman. Even the in-laws were trying to jump on that bandwagon.
Yes, let's all live together happily. Families should be together. Tom, Emily, there's been a lot going on, but let's get along again.
Listening to that, I looked at Tom's face. Tom nodding deeply. Gaining confidence, I took a deep breath and spoke. Please, do your best to repay the loan. The three of you. Well then, goodbye. Leaving behind the in-laws and Catherine, who were left agape, we hurriedly left the place. There were several calls to Tom from the in-laws and Catherine after that, but all were ignored. Soon after, Catherine and John got divorced, it seems. As expected, not only were they unable to pay the renewal fee of the apartment, but also seemed to have been in arrears with the rent, and it was almost like they fled in the night. However, it seemed that the landlord was connected in certain ways, and John couldn't escape, and is now apparently being worked like a slave somewhere. The in-laws' house was also put up for sale a year later, so it seems that they ultimately couldn't pay off the loan. The in-laws and Catherine lost their home and seem to be living quite a difficult life. Since we anticipated that they would desperately search for us, we moved to a place very far from the in-laws' house. Although it is a bit in the countryside, I became a doctor with my own practice there, which I have always dreamed of. A residence where the workplace and living area are combined, a dream since the old days. The interior and everything else were meticulously chosen by us. We still don't have children now, but we are living a carefree life, using the money we earned only for ourselves. Living without considering others and living only for ourselves. We are thoroughly enjoying such a life.